Lab Code Agents, good to see you. It's Dale Archedekin and Brian Curtis back for another riveting episode of Cash Call. Look at this. Brian has a new background. It's
I
very
do.
fancy, Brian. What? Tell us about your background, Brian. How did you choose this one?
Just looking for, I was just going through and looking for a random thing, and I found this one, and it seemed to work. And I'd love to give you like this great process, but that would no. I go online and search for Zoom backgrounds, and that's kind of what I do. So
Nice. And it's apropos, right? I don't know if you realize this, but it's getting close to Valentine's Day, and you have a nice picture of hearts
oh
in the
yeah,
background.
look at me.
You didn't even
No,
see
I
that.
had no
Yeah.
idea.
You're on point. So today, everybody, Lab Code Agents, what we're working on is we're back to reviewing some calls, and because this is what we do. The sales process never ends, and we're constantly looking at these things, trying to help you guys optimize what it is that you're doing. And one of the best ways that we know of is actually listening to what you're saying to people out in the real world. So with no further ado, I'll jump in here. I got a couple of calls to play today. Let's listen to these things and see how it went and see how we might be able to improve this process.
Fabulous.
Let's get some of these windows out of the way. Here we go. Oops, wrong window. Hold on, wait, technical difficulties. Here we go. Share screen. Got several people on. Good to see everybody. Thanks for joining us live on the Zoom if you're not inside Lab Code Agents right now. So Brian, I'm going to go ahead and start playing this. Give me a thumbs up when you can hear it.
Hello.
Hi, Carla. This is Trevor at Remax 24/7. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. So when I signed up, I said I wasn't going to be ready probably to sell my house for about 4 months.
So just to give you a little bit of background, because I know what the lead source is on this. This is one of those, crap, I can't remember like a Zerple type of thing, right?
Okay.
One of those lead things where somebody registered for something, but oftentimes they're pretty far out, and that lead has been given out. Basically, it's put into a database and anybody can call it if they want. So that's why you're hearing this response. And when we know that we're working that kind of source, even when we're working expireds is a similar thing, for sale by owners is a similar thing, because they just get hammered by these calls. Let's listen to what happened, and Brian and I will talk about what you should do into the when they're getting hammered by a lot of people.
But I keep getting bombarded with realtors calling me, and I'm not ready yet. So
understood. Okay, and in 4 months, that's it's a good time to sell at that point. It's getting right before summer when people are really looking hard. So, do you?
So, one issue here. This is what we know. Pretty sure Brian handles it the same way. Just get in front of it. Oh my God, I'm getting bombarded by all these agents. I'm not ready to sell. And I put that in when I listed. Oh, I'm so sorry. I would hate to get called by those realtors. That's so annoying. I hate it when they do that. Roll into my question. What has you thinking of selling in 4 months, right? Just roll into your discovery question. What do you think, Brian?
I like all that. I also like what he did, and I might have done it slightly different, but I like, hey, 4 months from now is probably the perfect time to sell. Like,
yeah.
If the woman's already decided she's going to sell in 4 months, reinforce her behavior, let her know that this is a good idea. It's kind of like someone says, I'm a buyer in 6 months. Perfect. We have plenty of time to get you organized, ready, because oftentimes what they're saying is, I'm going to sell in 4 months. I'm going to buy in 6 months. Leave me the hell alone. And right. and when you come back with, that's great, that's absolutely, but they're not expecting that. They're expecting, all right, I'll call you back in 4 months.
Right.
Because they're not trained salespeople. So, congratulate them for being prepared, being organized. Great. Honestly, most people wait until the very last minute and then it kind of becomes chaotic. But look, we've got a plan 4 months out. Perfect. We can get this set up for you, and it'll be much easier and much smoother since we have so much time.
Yep. All right, let's hear what he did.
Mind if I
he bailed
and I'm sure other agents have asked the same thing, but do you mind if I reach out a little bit further into the spring and I can kind of show you what I can do to help?
Sure.
So here's my argument. He didn't need to make that ask that early in the call, right? He could just keep going on with his conversation. He can do exactly what you and I said that he could do, right? Acknowledge, respond, pivot, as you say, into the question. You don't need to say, you don't need to signal, I'm going to get off your phone with you, because you don't really need to do that, in my opinion.
You bet.
Awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate picking up, and I know it's not fun getting bombarded sometimes, but I really do think I can help you achieve what you're trying to achieve. I talked to
Okay.
who did I talk to yesterday? Ben.
So here's what happens. He brings up some other information that was in his file, right? So I think maybe he realized that he was bailing too early, and you can hear how he started to circle the drain on hanging up, and then he popped back out of it and starts talking about something else. So I'm hoping to give him the credit and say what he realized is that he shouldn't be quitting that early, and that he then brought up some other information. Turns out that he had accidentally or had inadvertently spoken to the woman's estranged husband, who is going soon to be ex-husband. And so then she's like, well, what did he say? And that's why we actually have such a long call. She's trying to figure out what he says. Nothing ever really got developed, and he still doesn't find out why she's selling, where she's going to, where she's at in the process, what's important to her when she does sell, any of that kind of stuff, right? So most of there was really no discovery in the call. And then it just ends there, where he's going to be following up with her. And so, I know the backstory to this, which is then when he wanted to follow up with her again, he said 4 months in this call. He ends up calling her in like a few weeks, and she doesn't have any recollection of him. He has virtually zero information to use, right, to preface his call when he entered. And so she really just blew him off the phone at that point, a couple of weeks later. So the reason I want to point this out is because he bailed too early on it, and he didn't do any discovery. So then he didn't create a logical next step with this person. When he did follow up, he didn't have anything to go on or any information, right? He couldn't say, hey, so and so, I know we talked about you selling in 4 months because of X. This is what I want to know. He wasn't armed with that kind of entry language. And it's because he didn't get the discovery.
Yeah. And, I want to set this up in a couple of ways. And I think this is something that people sometimes forget when you're nurturing, because we talk a lot about how to handle right now leads. And we talk a lot about how to objection handle people who are further out. But what we don't necessarily talk about is nurture. And that's what this is, right? So for me, I want to set up my nurture. So if I can get the people to do it, I might say something like this: Dale, I got this great product, by the way. It's called HomeBot, and it's really cool. And it shows you all kinds of interesting information about your home, and it shows you things like, what you can rent it out for Airbnb and all this really cool stuff. I would love, if you're okay with it. And here's the thing, I'm not bombarding you. You're going to get one of these a month. So, and at any point in time you decide that it's not good information, you can feel free to opt out of it. There's an opt-out button. But I'd love to set you up on that so that you can kind of start getting a feel for what the market looks like. So if it's okay, I'm going to set you up on an email with that, and I'll probably follow up within a month and see how you feel about that report and what kind of information is there. And I'll do that. Now I've given them a reason to follow up, versus, oh, I'll call you in 4 months.
Yeah.
And then calling them in 3 weeks.
and even that would be better, because I heard the second call after this, which was, oh, I'm not selling my house, right? And in which case you can say, no, it's so-and-so. You are getting my HomeBot report. Remember, right? You can cut through that, jump on top and be like, no, I'm not a stranger. We already talked and we did this whole thing.
Yeah. And, the intro call is, hey, Dale, this is Brian with Curtis Realty Group. I'm following up. I've been sending you these HomeBot reports. I was checking to see, hey, I just a little feedback on them. How do you like it? Oh, I'm not even sure I looked at it. Or, I really like it. Or it's a piece of crap or whatever. But it's a setup for a different call, not, hey, this is Brian. Oh, crap, someone else called and send me something. Another question that you can ask for someone, because 4 months is not very long. I mean, realistically, if this person is really selling in 4 months, in about 3 to 3.5 months, they're interviewing agents. So I would potentially ask, hey, I understand that you're selling in 4 months, and that's great, and I'm not interested in harassing you. My question for you is, are you planning on interviewing multiple agents to do at that point in time? Well, yeah. Well, I would love to, be one of those agents. So with that in mind, when do you think you're actually going to start that interview process? Oh, I'm going to start at the second week in March through. Oh, perfect. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to call you the week before, if that's okay. And that way I'll make sure that I'm one of the people who gets in there. In the meantime, I'll set you up on HomeBot, and I'll send you just a little information about our company so you can get a feel for who we are. If you're someone who does like pre-list packages.
Yeah, absolutely. Should I play my next one?
Go for it.
Cool. Let's see if we can share the screen again.
May I help you?
Now,
Hello?
okay, so I'm gonna. There's an issue that I really hate at the beginning of this call. Obviously, this was like a dialer gap, so that's not the agent's issue.
May I help you?
Yeah. My name is Marco. Max
Marco Polo.
24/7 Real Estate. I'm looking for a Joseph.
Yeah.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Perfect. Why?
Oh God! All right, so we've got a massive mirror and match discrepancy. Huge. I mean, you don't have to sound like you're asleep, also, but you need to slow down. And I find it to be negatively impactful when you're asking if it's the person. And not only did he ask once, but then he confirmed twice that it was. And I mean, that screams telemarketing, right? Because it just doesn't. People don't converse that way. If you know, usually when you call someone that you know it's them right from the beginning, and you start into whatever the conversation is. So that's a big problem here.
Yeah. So I'm not going to call Dale and go, "Hey, is this Dale?"
Right.
I mean, we know each other.
Yeah. Or what he did was, "Hey, I'm looking for Brian." Yeah. Oh, is this Brian? Yes. Damn it. Get on with your point. What do you want?
And honestly, and let's just, before you press play, if somebody does that to me, I might go, "I'm sorry, you got the wrong number." Because I know none of my friends are going to call me. None of the people I want to talk to are going to call me and say that. The only person who's doing that is someone who's trying to sell me crap. So, my favorite is this Mr. Curtis? I'm like, yeah, you're definitely, and I don't know why anyone would do that in 2021. Like, it's not 1982, guys. So if first of all, don't do it, and definitely don't ask them, use their surname. That people don't like that feels very impersonal.
No.
I'm just reaching out to you here. I received your information through one of our referral programs that you may be interested in a new home in the Brilliant area. Is that correct?
I don't think you need to tell them it's a referral program necessarily.
Is that something where you're trying to make them feel a little bit more comfortable with you calling them, maybe? Like, Homelight, I'll say, if I get a Homelight lead, I'll say, "Hey, Homelight asked me to reach out to you." I don't know.
I think
yeah.
I think that if it's a known entity, then name it, right? But don't be like, "Hey, you're an internet lead I found in the dark recesses of the internet alleyway," right? Name where it came from. Yeah, and if it's Homelight, "Hey, looks like you were inquiring on Homelight at your home value," right? Or "Hey, I partner with Zillow. They asked me to give you a call." But if it's reputable, then use the name.
Absolutely.
Oh, in the vicinity.
Okay. Not necessarily tied to just Brilliant, look kind of around there.
Anywhere between Keel and Greenleaf and Appleton and.
Okay. Kind of over there in that area. Okay. Good deal. Now, Joseph, do you have a timeline that you're planning on moving by or anything like that, or are you just kind of looking around right now?
Well, I'm looking for a friend of mine that's for January. She wants.
Okay.
She wants it for next month.
Okay. Perfect. So you're just looking around for a friend. Now, do you know is your friend, are they currently working with a realtor or anything like that, or just kind of looking on their own?
Now, it worked out for him asking that question. The person said no. I don't think it's the most important question to ask, and I don't know what your opinion about that is. I think the more important thing is we've got two issues. We've got next month, because how many times when somebody tells you they need to buy a house next month, does it actually happen? And two, I'm looking for a friend. What do you think?
So I hate the looking for a friend, but we got to deal with it. I mean, at the end of the day, that I never ask the question, "Are you working with another realtor?" I hate that question. It's a yes/no question. And so that's part of the problem. And then the second part of the problem is anyone who has asked that question and said yes, they learn pretty quickly. I can get every realtor to drop off the phone. Not every, there's every once in a while, someone will do a little bit deeper discovery. But 9 times out of 10, if I say I got a realtor, they'll leave me alone. So don't ask that question, because you can get there a bunch of different ways. Let's assume for the sake of conversation, it wasn't somebody who is a friend, it was them. I could say, great, Bob, out of curiosity, have you looked at any homes? Yeah, I've looked at a couple homes. Perfect. So, who showed you those homes? Well, I went and talked to the listing agent on one. I went to an open house. Oh, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're not necessarily committed to working with one agent. Is that accurate? Yeah. Okay. I got the same set of information and I didn't get shut down, and I engaged them. And I think that's important. So, and I wanted to piggyback on something you said at the beginning of this call. I think he did a decent job. I probably would have brought it down even a little bit more. But mirroring and matching, guys, people like people who are like them, and that's just a fact. So this is the real quick version of rapport building. If you talk too quickly, people think you're a slick salesman. If you talk too slowly, they think you're dumb. So this guy talked really slowly. You're going to have to consciously keep yourself at a pretty, and here's the other thing, his volume was pretty low too. So this is how I'd be talking to this guy. Bob, I really appreciate that. And, whatever I need to say, but I'm going to be talking like this. Where normally I talk like this. You guys hear me every week. This is how I am. I'm animated, but I'm going to make that conscious effort.
That's how this agent was talking, right? Which was definitely, in my opinion, was disconnected from the way that this guy was presenting himself.
Yes.
So back to the agent question, I think he probably went to that question because the guy said she needs to buy next month. So what I probably would have done instead of agent was just made a comment about, wow, that sounds like it's really quick. What's important about getting this done next month, right? I want to investigate that a little bit. Perfect. And here's what I want to say, because, we frequently run into, I'm looking for my friend. It's a parent that's looking for a child, or the other way around, a child looking for the parent. What I usually like to do is find out what their role is. What are they doing? Why are you helping? Or to what extent are you helping this person, right? Are you going to be living there with them? Are you part of the decision-making process on which house to purchase, right? Or are you just sending them properties you think would be interesting for them? So some kind of investigation.
Yeah, it's possible this guy's retired and he doesn't have anything else to do, and so he likes to look at houses, and he sends them to his friend. We don't know, and maybe we find out. I haven't listened to this call, but yeah, absolutely. You definitely
never do find out
why.
We don't find out in this call at all.
Don't have anybody.
Okay, perfect. Well, do you happen to have a good email address or contact information for your friend? I'd be happy to set him up with a search that we can. This is the best way to get a hold of him.
Well, I'm going to be with her.
Okay, perfect. Well, do you have a price range or anything like that? Do you know your friend is looking in?
All right, so he goes on to give him some additional details about what they're looking for, money, which it still never resolves in who this guy is or how he's helping this person or who the decision maker is.
Yeah. Once they're contingent, that.
So I just want to go down and show how this closes out. There's a bunch of discovery that gets missed.
But that means that we wouldn't be able to see that anymore. So unfortunately, that wouldn't be an option unless if it did end up, falling apart or anything like that. But those are generally was closing.
You want to pause that real quick?
Yeah.
He's never met this guy, correct? No. I'm assuming.
Mm-mm.
I'm assuming that was somebody saying that a house was pending, and that's why.
Yes. Yeah. He said this thing says it's pending. What does that mean?
Okay. So why would you not try and make an appointment to show that guy that house?
Right.
Because remember this, guys, if you're watching this, you're much better in person than you are on the phone. Sorry. There's going to be some exceptions to that, but 95 out of 100 realtors are better in person than they are on the phone. Take the opportunity. Well, I'm not even 100% sure we can get in there. It is pending, but lots of times they'll let us go and do a backup offer. So I'd love to see if I could set this up for you. Are you available on Tuesday or what? We can go through that kind of close. And here's the thing. Maybe the listing agent won't let you see it. Maybe the seller doesn't want to show it. Maybe that'll happen. But now I got a reason to call him back.
Right.
So set an appointment when there's an opportunity. The guy basically said, I wanted to go see a house. And you said, nope, sorry.
Right. You can't have what you want. Well, maybe I'll just go back into my spider hole and wait for the next house to come along.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, I'll do a quick search and see if there's anything that pops up on my end. So
Yeah.
and then if not,
right.
we'll be set up to see anything. If anything does pop up new on the market, those will come right into that email as well. So
Okay.
all right. Well, perfect. Like I said, thank you very much for your time today, Joseph. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
All right.
He's definitely not going to be calling you. So, the reason I wanted to play that out is because it's also one of my biggest pet peeves when agents and ISAs just end it with, okay, I'm going to send you properties and talk to you later. Call
Right.
me if you have questions.
Because the
It's
other
just-
7 agents sent them to him too, right?
Right, exactly. It's just so loose on the end, right? So push for more concrete resolution to what we're going to do next, why we're going to do it, and how we're going to do it, right? And what the value is to them. And, beyond missing a bunch of discovery in that conversation where we really don't know anything about this guy or this woman or how they're making decisions or why they're doing what they're doing. But beyond that, why not see if we can jump on a video call with this guy to go through the MLS with us, right? Let's look through some listings together. Let's look through my list of off-market properties and see if any of them might work for you, since none of the other buyers out in the world can see that right now.
Here's another thing. You can ask permission and it works pretty well. And, hey, Bob, I'm going to get a little bit nosy here. I apologize for that. But the reason is I want to see if I can possibly help you. That gives me permission to go and ask those questions like, so who the hell is this person you're moving with? Why are they, there's
Right,
all this
exactly.
different stuff. So if you feel uncomfortable, you're like, I'm not sure I have the right to ask it. Just say, look, Bob, I appreciate your time. And I'm going to ask you a couple of personal questions. You don't have to answer them, but all I'm really trying to do is do my job and figure out if there's a way I can help you get what you want and need. And they'll go, oh, okay. Yeah, he's just trying to help me. He's not a nosy idiot. He's just trying to help me. So another thing that I saw, and this is something we need to be careful of, because remember, you only get one chance to make a first impression. I know that's a corny thing to say, but his discovery question that you played was, do you have a price range or anything like that?
Very loose, very sloppy.
Again, set yourself up. And if you don't know how to do this, like I printed this out for everybody, every agent on my team. Dale created, or I don't know if he created it, but he promoted 6 W's: who, what, why, where, when, and how. And so everybody on my team, we've got a sheet, we print those out, we keep that in front of us. So, hey, Bob, I've really enjoyed chatting with you here today, but let me just do a couple of quick questions so I can make sure I'm providing you what you need. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to ask that, so what's your price range? Oh, my price range is 200 to 300. Perfect. What's the location? So you can just go through those questions, but make it look like you've done it before, not, you got a price range or anything? Or, I mean,
Right.
And that's how it sounded to me. And one of the things I would suggest to everybody is go back and listen to a couple of your questions or a couple of your phone calls, because my guess is I do it and we all do it, and you got to practice it just like anything else. But you'll listen to yourself and you go, oh boy, Dale and Brian would have torn that call apart. That's okay. Do it to yourself so you don't do it again in the future.
So we don't do it.
So you don't
yes,
do it.
I did actually create the who, where, when, why, what, and how much. Basically, what happened was LP Mama was the standard in the industry. And when I looked at it, when I was putting together Conversion University, I was like, LP Mama is good, but it doesn't actually cover everything. And LP Mama doesn't really mean anything to anyone. And so I'm like, what I always want to know is who, where, when, why, what, and how much. Which are just forms of speech. And those are the ways you formulate your questions anyway. So
Yep.
I just thought that it made a lot more sense that way, and also covered a few questions that LP Mama didn't. So yeah, I did.
It also
create that
feels less
company.
interrogating, to be honest with you. LP Mama feels very interrogating to me. Like I'm going down a list of questions that I'm going to ask you and you're going to answer them. And it feels more like an interrogation. I've never liked that script at all. I've never actually even used it. I'm familiar with it, but I don't like it. So somebody
Got
put
it.
in this, and I wanted to just read it out of the other chat. 3 possible endings for a call: an appointment, schedule next call to make an appointment, decide not to work with them. It's
I
great.
think that's very good. Who said that?
I can't tell.
Paul?
my thing. Paul. Okay, got it. Thanks, Paul.
It's Paul. Good, great stuff. We're going to steal that, Paul, and we're going to use that. There's 3 possible endings for the call.
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah,
phone call.
that's a really good way to look at it. And I think that falls in line with, Brian and I's really philosophy about leads in general, which is that every lead is probably going to buy or sell real estate at some point. It's either now or in the future, and that's all I have to determine, which falls in line with what Paul has to say. So that's why they're so valuable, especially focusing on nurtures. If you can't get the appointment now, you focus on the nurture. We just had, like I mentioned in the green room before we started, we had Robbie T come and train for my company. And, he says that they have a 5% conversion rate on their PPC leads, which is a really great conversion rate to close, right? So lead to close. And that I think he said it takes like 680 something days on average for his PPC leads to go to closing.
Wow.
That's a long time. Yeah.
So we've just got a few minutes. I don't feel like we have time to necessarily do another phone call, but think about what that means, guys. 687 days or 86 days. I'm just going to round up 2 years. So there's 350 days in a year. 350 times 2 is 700. So it's not exact. So I guess it's 1 year and 11 months on the average. So nurture. This business is about nurture. And by the way, it's becoming more about nurture every single day because there are some people probably listening to this call today who have either received a phone call from Zillow or Realtor.com in the last 6 months that says, we're not selling you leads anymore. And what's the significance of that? Well, theoretically, those leads are a little bit further down the funnel, right? Not always, but theoretically, on the average, a Zillow lead is much further down the funnel than a pay-per-click, and definitely much further down than a Facebook. So if we're going to be in the pay-per-click business, if we're going to be in the Facebook business, if we're going to do this, we have to dedicate ourselves to nurture, and we have to do kind of what Paul's talking about is, okay, so you're a year and a half out. What am I going to do? I got to come up with something to save for a year and a half, because that's a long time. And, you have to have a plan. So I'm always thinking about that setup. So when my next phone call comes in, I've got something to say besides, hey, this is Brian, I'm just checking in, which works. If you don't have anything else, that does work.
Say something, right?
But at the end of the day, set yourself up. Hey, I'm going to give you a call here in the next couple of months just to check in to make sure that nothing has changed. What do I lead in with? Hey, Dale, it's Brian. I'm just calling back. I said I'd call you in a couple of months and see if anything's changed. I wonder if you're still on track for buying a house in, 16 to 18 months. Oh, yeah, we're still doing that. Perfect. And then you can have a conversation with them. But set your conversation up before you have it, if that makes sense. Why not? I mean, you've earned the right. And by the way, if you guys aren't doing this, get V. And I heard no one do this. Get your V card in people's phone. It's more and more and more and more important today. Like literally at some point in time, somebody could turn that little function on an Apple phone. And I think I saw a statistic the other day, 43% of all phones in America are Apple. And that means if they turn that little thing on, if you're not saved in their phone, guess what? It goes straight to voicemail. So you have no chance. But again, get it in their V card. It literally will double the chances of someone answering your phone call. So just close with that. Hey, Dale, it's Brian. By the way, I had a great chat with you today. I'm going to send you my V card, which is basically my contact information. Go ahead and save it in your phone. That way, next time I call, then I guess you can decide if you don't want to talk to me, but hopefully you'll answer my phone call. I like to make kind of little jokes like that.
Yeah, exactly. Great point. All right. Well, looks like we are at time, everybody, for another Cash Call episode. Hopefully you guys got some nuggets out of that. Brian and I sincerely hope that helps you in your calls and your conversations with converting people. So we will see all of you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Kathy's always here. Thanks, Kathy.